All right, guys. So, good evening. Good evening. Okay, so today's topic is planning and scoping. So, this is like one of the steps involved in penetration testing. Okay. So, good evening, good evening, good evening, guys. So, today you will just have to be in the YouTube live. Okay, guys. You can just write in the YouTube chat section and I will see it and respond. Okay. All right. So, let's see how many of you have joined. Right. Great, 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 guys. Great to see such enthusiasm amongst you. Okay. So, all right. So, we will just start right away. Okay. Now, coming to the steps of penetration testing. Okay. So, there are certain differences between ethical hacking and penetration testing. Okay. So, we will just see when you are talking about ethical hacking. No, there are basically 5 steps, right? So, the first one being footprinting, then scanning and enumeration, right? And the next one being gaining access, maintaining access and clearing tracks, right, guys? So I guess you guys are familiar with these terms, right? These are the 5 steps of ethical hacking. Okay, so guys, so just let me know in the chat section, you guys are familiar with this, right? Good evening everyone, good evening. Okay, so these are the steps of ethical hacking. Now coming to penetration testing, this has only like 2 more additional terms, right? Yeah, footprinting only involves reconnaissance. Okay, footprinting and recon we call it. Okay, but most of the time we just say footprinting, right? Now coming to penetration testing, there are 2 additional steps. Okay, so the first one is scoping and planning, and then you have these 5 steps in it, right? Then you have reporting, right? So you can see that penetration testing is a 7-step process. Okay, and ethical hacking is a 5-step process, just 2 more additional steps. Okay, so before jumping right into the practicals, we will just see certain basic concepts that you need to cover in scoping and planning phase. Okay, guys. All right, all right. So today we are going to start with this planning and scoping part. Okay, just a second, guys. Okay, now we are going to see that the certain pre-engagement activities of penetration testing. So you guys might be familiar with the term that there is pre-attacking phase, right? Then there is attacking phase and there is post-attack phase. Okay, so we are in the pre-attacking phase. Okay, so scoping and planning is in the pre-attacking phase. So until this one, scanning, footprinting and scoping and planning is the pre-attacking phase. Here we try to like gather as much information as possible before we jump into our attacking, right? So here these are the certain points that you need to keep in mind during the pre-engagement activities. So the first one is evaluating the scope of the penetration test. Okay, guys, here you and your client are going to sit together and negotiate about the or discuss about the scope, right? So I guess you guys are familiar with the term in scope and out of scope. Let me know in the chat section, guys. You know about these terms? Okay. So what it means is in scope are the assets or the like infrastructure, or let's suppose the subdomains or the IP addresses that we are allowed to test on, right? So in scope is the asset we are allowed to test on, right? And out of scope is the ones that we are not allowed to test on. Okay, all right, clear? Now just we will take an example of it. Okay, so let's suppose we have our target organization, okay, and let's suppose it's tesla.com. Right, so tesla.com is our target, and what we are getting in the in scope ones are the ones that we are allowed to test on, and the out of scope is the one, a certain small amount or whatever number of assets which we are not allowed to test on. Okay, so coming to the part is for in scope ones, let's suppose target is tesla.com. Okay, now if some of you have seen that bug bounty pages or the bug bounty programs, there you will see they have clearly defined the in scope and out scope materials, right, or the assets, right? So for example, if they mention tesla.com over here and they just provide a wildcard dot tesla.com. Okay, so can anyone tell me what this means, this wildcard.tesla.com? What is meant by these? Anyone in the chat section? What is this wildcard.tesla.com? What does it mean, guys? Anyone in the chat section? Means every subdomain allowed. Great, exactly, guys. Under this wildcard, all domains in scope. Exactly, guys. So what happens here is, like when you are adding this wildcard in front of the main domain, it means all the subdomains that come under the main domain. Okay. Now coming to the point that the company or our target or our client doesn't want us to test on all of the subdomains. For that reason, they will specify the out of scope assets. Okay, so for example, they have this secret.tesla.com, right? Then again we can see, for example, let's take basic example, docs.tesla.com, right? So the company, while you are in the scoping and planning phase, you will negotiate or discuss with the company like which assets are in scope and which are out of scope, right? So now this was an example of the web application. Now coming to the network part, they will do something like mention something like, for example, 10.15.165.0/23, right? So this will contain 512 IP addresses in it, out of which around 510 will be usable, right? All right, guys. So what they are saying that these are the whatever IP address in this subnet is allowed. So it sums up to 510. Now for the out of scope, they will just mention something like 10.15.162.155 to 235 is out of scope. Okay. So this is how you discuss about the scope. Okay. Now coming to the next point is understanding the type of penetration test is required. Okay. So the type of penetration test that we discussed yesterday included some like goal oriented pen test, right? Then a red team oriented pen test, compliance oriented pen test, right? So in that also the black box, white box and gray box is also mentioned in that. Clear that much? Okay. Now coming to the next point, that is determining the penetration test procedures, like what are the tools and tricks and how you are going to approach the target, that you need to discuss with your client company. Okay. The next point being identify the amount of resources needed for the test, right? Like how many employees or how many pen tester we are going to assign for this project, right? What amount of time or what are the resources, what are the devices we will need for that. Okay, so we will discuss all of that in our this phase. Okay, then outline the rules of engagement. Very important, guys. This point, out of the rules, outline the rules of engagement. This is very important. Okay, so if you have seen that, for example, some of them mention DOS not allowed, right? For example, not allowed, right? These kind of things are the rules of engagement. Okay, now another things are like after gaining access to the machine, they might want you to do the post exploitation, or they might not want it. Like for example, backdoor not allowed, things like that. Okay, so rules of engagement, I guess this is clear to you. Okay, now coming to the next point, determine the matrices for estimating the time and cost of the test. Okay, another important factor, right? Like while we are discussing our requirements and the rules of engagement with the client, we also need to discuss that the amount of time they will assign us. Like for example, the test will go on for 1 month, right? And during that 1 month, the resources we are spending on our pen testers to like conduct the test, we also need to discuss the cost that it will require, right? Coming to the next point, that is estimate the overall cost, right? For example, I mentioned earlier that, for example, while the discussion process, if you discuss like from Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m, you are not allowed to test, right? And weekends you can test, right? So depending on the all these factors, and another factor, let me add, 1 month is assigned, right? So what's happening here is, or what we need to understand from this is, like the company is restricting us from testing from 9 to 5 a.m. during the weekdays, and we only get the weekends where we can test properly. Now what will happen, 1 month time under these circumstances might be exhaustive, right? Might be very less amount of time depending on the assets or the size of the company, right? Now the company has a lot of assets, lot of subdomains, and lot of IP address to cover, and they are giving us such short amount of time. Then what happens is we have to assign more resources from our end, right? So in that case, the cost will also increase. So the resources that we spend will be directly proportional to the cost. Okay. Now, certain the limits of engagement, right? So here in this point, we will also discuss about the like what are the limits up to what we can do. Like for example, someone has gained the domain controller while doing the Active Directory pen testing, right? And in the limitations, they have mentioned that after gaining the domain controller, you should not perform the hash dump, or you will not collect the hashes of the users. So these kind of things they will mention. Okay. Now coming to the next point is learn about the laws in the jurisdiction of the test location. Okay, this is one of the very important points, because you need to understand that cyber law is different for different countries, right? So for example, the certain rules that are allowed in India might not be allowed in USA, right? So if you know, in country like China or Russia, using VPN and Tor is kind of illegal, right? So depending on the laws in the jurisdiction, you will have to modify or adapt your procedures or ways of testing. Okay, now coming to the listing the goals of penetration test. Okay, here we will list out what are the objectives and the goals we have while we are performing a test, right? Now the first one is identify all the vulnerabilities and fix them. Okay, so this is like, I guess this is the very common or the basic understanding while you are going for pen testing, right? So the main objective would be identify all the vulnerabilities and help them fix it. Okay, and I guess I don't have to like discuss more on this. We will discuss more on the later topics. Okay, find unauthorized ways of accessing the organizational resources and close them, right? So in this, what we do is like, For example, if we are working as a pen tester only, right? Now, if we can gain unauthorized access to their assets, then any other black hat hacker will definitely be able to get access, right? Like us being on the good side, if we can find, then chances are the people, those who are working on the bad side, will also be able to gain that same particular unauthorized access, correct? Right. Coming to the next point is evaluate the security of current network configurations, right? So the firewall they are implementing, or the intrusion detection system or intrusion prevention system, or the honeypots they are configuring, so are the configurations proper or not? Are, for example, are we being able to bypass the firewalls or not, right? So those things we will also have to evaluate, right? Coming to the next point is provide security training to employees. Okay, this point highly depends on the contract what you are doing, and that will also be done in the scoping, right? So if you have the contract that after your 1 month of testing you will have to provide some cybersecurity awareness to our non-technical employees as well, right? For example, the HR or the, for example, finance or networking, sorry, the marketing team, so they are not technical people, right? So they might not be aware of all the factors or all the possible ways that a cyber security attack or even social engineering attack might happen. Okay, so part of our role is also to provide them awareness or some basic security training, right? Now the next point is discovering issues with compliance, right? Like we discussed yesterday, what are compliances? Compliances are a set of rules or standards that are predetermined or set by the security authorities which a company needs to follow to survive in the market, and considering the fact that they are secure or not, right? So in that also we have to find some issues. If there are any issues with that compliance, we will have to help them resolve those as well. Okay, the next point is identify the uncertainties associated with organizations web application, right? So there might be any kind of anomaly or any kind of like issues that might happen when one service might be down or any kind of thing. Or example, we are testing on one application and we are running brute force attack on that, and due to that any other service that is related to that only, that might get a DOS attack, or that is facing some kind of networking or bandwidth issues. Those things also we have to figure out, right? The next point is test the functioning of new tools, devices and technologies, right? Like for example, we have completed our 1 month of testing. Now the company, and we have provided them suggestions that these are the relevant tools or the latest tools that you should implement, or this device might be vulnerable, or this is outdated, you can update that. So after the implementation of those also, we have to test that if those are vulnerable or not. Okay, so these were some of the basic goals of penetration testing. Coming to the next point is scoping the penetration test. Okay, so here comes the part where we discuss about the actual assets on which we can work on. Okay, so the first one is what will be tested. Okay, so the basic question that I mentioned in a few minutes back also, what will be tested, right? So if you see here, the in scope, there we will, what will be tested, the answer should be the tesla.com and the wildcard tesla.com, right? So this is what we need to discuss, what are the assets on which we will test, right? Coming to the next point is how it should be tested, right? Then the next question is what resources will be allocated, and then what limitations will be applied, right? These limitations is also very important. You need to keep in mind that during discussing the rules of engagement, then and there only they will determine or specify the limitations that will be applied, right? Now what business objectives will be achieved from that? What are they are asking for a pen test to us being an organization. Now we will also ask them that what will you achieve from that, right? Now the next one is how to test project will be planned and scheduled, right? Planning and scheduling. Scheduling, I mentioned here, the timing, when you are allowed and when you are not allowed, right? So in this, we will discuss those two factors, right? This is the scoping part. Now, some key factors that you need to consider when you are scoping for a penetration test. Okay. Now, the first one is target's criticality. Okay. The criticality of a target may vary based on the business services or activities it offers. Penetration testers should consider in advance the mission critical systems, networks, services, and application as a part of scoping. So by this, what I mean is, like for example, you are testing on Bank of America, right? This is a very big organization. Now, so this is a banking site, right? And people in America and some people from all over the world are simultaneously using this site. Now, we need to keep in mind that our actions and its consequences should not affect the business continuity. Okay, so whatever testing we are perform on whatever asset or whatever subdomain we are testing, that should not affect the business continuity, right? Because that will cause them a like denial of service for the legitimate users, right? And that will be a reputational loss for the organization and which they cannot afford, right? Now coming to the next point, that is test location. Some clients allow the penetration testers to work on site while other prefers off-site location as they don't want their employees to know about the test, right? Like this is like for example the off-site testing is for like catching the employees off guard, right? So some of you, or let's suppose some of the developers are working on the web application project on a critical asset, right? And they found a bug in production. Okay, that's a very critical issue. Right now, if the manager or the authority inform them, what they will do, they will work harder and somehow try to fix that bug, right? So in case of offsite testing, they do what is like they will catch them off guard and see like how prepared the individuals or the developers are or how secure the web application is, right? Now coming to the test volume, it is important to have an idea of the approximate number of systems involved in the test, number of IP addresses, list of web pages and parameters, and so on. That will help determine the time and cost of the penetration test, right? So as I mentioned here also in the scope, like you have to test for 510 IP addresses, and for example, let's see, you have run some subdomain enumeration and you have found around 27,000 IP addresses, right? 27,000 subdomains of tesla.com, right? Now here you need to understand that target volume, right? 27,000. You have to test 27,000 subdomains and 510 IP addresses, right? So what this will do, this will help you determine the time and cost that you and the company, your client needs to invest on the penetration test. Okay. So this is the objective of understanding the test volume. Okay, guys. Now, coming to the next section, advantages of scoping a penetration test. Okay, like why should we scope at all, right? So here we are going to discuss that scoping ensures the consistency and high success rate of the penetration test. Okay, like when we are doing the scoping and we are narrowing down our attacking surface, then what we have to do, we have to perform testing on very specific assets, right? So the more specific our attack is, the chances are more to be successful in that attacking and penetration test, right? Now coming to the next point is a carefully defined scope helps in preventing collateral damage from intrusive scans or exploits. Very important thing you need to keep in mind, right? For example, if you are running your nmap and you are scanning a subnet with that, okay, now what might happen is like if you are doing an aggressive scan with threat count set to high, right? Now that might cause some kinds of trouble, right? For example, if you are using burp intruder for doing like a brute force attack, right? So considering those factors, those intrusive scan or aggressive scans which might cause problem to the other assets as well, right? So that also you have to narrow it down before you jump right into the exploitation phase. Okay, now the next point is lack of scope. required attributes to start the penetration testing project in a professional, sound manner. Okay. Yes, guys, I guess it is buffering. So, guys, have you like missed a lot of it? Your internet was not working. All right, guys, is it visible now? Yeah, we are going to see some practicals, right? Don't worry, don't worry. Let's just complete the scoping and planning part. Okay? Penetration testing is not just running some tools and doing exploitation and all. You need to have some like in a professionally sound manner, right? We mean that like professional work should be like all right, guys. Am I audible? Has the buffering issue solved? Hello, hello. Still buffering, guys? You're getting the audio? Yeah. All right. All right. All right. All right. So, as we have seen these advantages of scoping of penetration test, right? Now, coming to the next part is scoping for network penetration testing. Okay, guys. So here we will see what are the like what are the things we have to consider while we are going for a network penetration test. Okay, so the first one is the penetration test required to meet a specific compliance requirement? Like we discussed in that part, that is the penetration test happening for a purpose of meeting like compliance requirements or not? Okay, then the next one is, when does the client want the active portion, scanning, enumeration, exploitation, and so on of the penetration test conducted during business hours or after business hour or on the weekends, right? So this also I mentioned. All right. So see, if we can save some time from this, then we will see the like basic footprinting part. Okay, guys, don't worry about that. Right now, as I mentioned in the earlier also, like you need to discuss with the client that when they want the active portions to take place, like during business hours or after business hours or on the weekends, right? Then again, coming to the next one is how many IP addresses in total are being tested, right? So this I mentioned in the point that target volume, right? Got it? Then coming to the next one, are there any devices in places that may impact the result of penetration test, such as firewalls, intrusion detection and intrusion prevention system, a web application firewall, or a load balancer? Okay. So are you guys still having the buffering issue? Let me know in the chat section, guys. In the chats. No. Okay. So here in this point, you can see that the devices that may impact the result of penetration test, such as firewall, IDS, IPS, web application firewalls, and a load balancer, right? So load balancer does, can anyone tell me what is the role of this load balancer? Anyone? This load balancer, what is the function of this or the role of this load balancer? To balance network traffic. Great. Okay. So what this load balancer does is, for example, like for the hosting purposes, one server is being used, right? So what a company should ideally do is that they should have multiple servers, right? So in that case, what a load balancer does is, if the traffic in one server is getting too high for its capacity, it will balance it among multiple servers, right? So that they can provide services in a more like easier way, and they can like denial of service does not happen, right? And the next is like, in case a system is compromised, how should the team proceed, right? So for example, if you get one IP address that you are being able to exploit and you are gaining the shell, right? So you need to discuss with the client that after gaining access, what should we do, right? Now, there are some other factors that you need to consider as well. Perform a local vulnerability assessment on the compromised machine or not, right? Then again, coming to the attempt to gain the highest privilege, root for Linux and administrator for Windows on the compromised machine. Do they want it or not, right? Then coming to the perform no minimal dictionary or exhaustive password attacks against the local password hashes obtained, right? So for example, if you have gained a, for example, domain controller, and if you are able to dump out all the password hashes of all the users, then does the company want you to like perform dictionary attacks on that or not? Those kind of things. Okay. Coming to the next point, that is social engineering. Guys, are you having trouble again? All right. Now, not working, no issue. Okay. All right. Now coming to the social engineering part. So let's consider that you are discussing with your client that, for example, do they want you to, for example, like they will provide you some list of emails or phone numbers that you can perform phishing or even any kind of social engineering attacks in them or not, right? So that also you have to discuss. Okay, so these are some other points. Okay, coming to the web application penetration testing scoping, right? So how many web application are being assessed, right? Will the test be executed against a live application or a snapshot of it in an testing environment, or how many sign-in systems are being assessed, right? Approximately how many static pages are being assessed, dynamic pages? Will the source code be provided readily available or not, right? Will there be any kind of documentation or if yes, then what kind of documentation you will get, right? Will static analysis be performed on the application, right? So these kind of things, or these questions you should ask your client before you can jump into your testing, right? Now same is for the wireless penetration testing also, like what are the devices, wireless networks, guest wireless networks, and all that, the kind of encryption they are doing, the coverage of the network, right? And you, like, are you able to do the enumeration of rogue devices or not, and those kind of things. These, like, when you are going for scoping and planning phase, you should discuss all of these questions and have a clear answer from your client, right? Now coming to the identify the intrusion prevention system evasions, like firewall bypass, IDS bypass, IPS bypass, are you allowed to do those or not, right? Again buffering. All right, guys, from next class, we will try to go with the Gmeet option only. Okay, don't worry. Is it working, guys? What can I say about YouTube, guys? All right. So coming to the identifying the areas of infrastructure, right? So here you will see the intrusion prevention system evasion, firewall configuration testing, firewall bypass testing, and stateful analysis testing, right? So all of these you will have to like discuss with your client as well. Now coming to the application penetration testing, these are like code review, source code review or not, functionality testing, input validation, parameter validation, right? Parameter sanitization, input sanitization, all of these you need to discuss, right? Coming to the next one is social engineering penetration testing and wireless network penetration testing. Okay, so what I will do, like today I will provide you guys the like PPT of this, okay, so that you can go through all of this. All right. Then there is mobile device penetration testing, like routing prevention control, right? Password brute force prevention, VPN configuration, and wireless security. All of this we have to cover. Okay, so are you guys cleared? Let me know in the chat section, guys. Is like the until up to what I have covered, is that clear to you? Let me know in the chat section, guys. All right. Now we are going to see the information gathering phase, right? So as you can see, I have mentioned in the presentation also, you have to see that information gathering is the first phase, or I would say the most important phase before you can dive into the penetration testing, right? So information gathering is what? Gathering as much information about your target as possible before going into exploitation, right? So that is the basic understanding of information gathering. Now we all know that information gathering is of two types: active and passive reconnaissance or information gathering. Okay, so for the first one we will see passive reconnaissance. Now what is passive reconnaissance? In this, what we do, that we won't directly get involved with our target, right? We won't perform nmap scan or subdomain enumeration on our target. What we will do in this, we will try to gather as much information about the target from the open source information that is available, right? For example, we have certain websites, for example, who is information, or we can use the social media and public records and other search engine options through which we will be able to like get information about our target without directly getting involved with the target, right? Now coming to the active reconnaissance phase, in contrast to the passive one, here we need to do is like here we will be directly involved with our target. Okay, so here we will perform active scanning, we will perform nmap, or we will perform things like subdomain enumeration and all that. Okay, so here other things also, port scanning, as I mentioned, through nmap, then network mapping, OS fingerprinting, and all other things like that. Okay, all right, now we will jump into and see that I have listed out some of the techniques that you may follow for footprinting. Okay, so here the first one is Google Docs. Okay, we will see all of it. Okay, then there is Google hacking database, advanced Google search. Okay, so let's jump right into our Kali machine. Okay, and we will start with our footprinting. Okay, guys, so is my screen visible and my audio clear? Let me know, guys. Is my screen visible, guys? Okay, and my audio? Okay, all right. So we will start with the Google docking part. Okay, so you guys might have heard like what are the Google Docs. I will just do what? I will list it out for you. So the first one is site, right? Then the next one is all in URL, right? Then we have got in URL, all in title, right? In title, right? In anchor, all in anchor, right? Cache, and there are more. Okay, so we will just start with our site. Now, before like using our Google Docs, we have to see that what are the objective of using this Google Docs. Okay, so from the information gathering point of view, we need to know that whenever we search something in our like browser or search engine, that we will get a lot of information related to that search, right? If we are searching for tesla.com, so you will see we will get a, oh, okay, if you just search for Tesla, you will see right. So first you will get some, the very first one you will get that www.tesla.com, but here also you will see you are getting the Wikipedia page, or here there is another website that is giving information about Tesla and all, and you will see YouTube also, Yahoo, Google, right? So if our objective is to find only the specific websites that are related to tesla.com only, what we have to do, we have to use the site command, right? So site tesla.com. Okay, now what this will do, this will bring out the specific output or the specific results that are related to tesla.com only. Here if you scroll down, you will see all of them are mentioning Tesla, right? So from this, you should understand that the role of Google docking is to filter out the responses or the output from our browser or search engine, right? So with these Google Docs, we can filter out the specific things or the specific assets or resources that we need, right? So for example, if you want to see the file type for PDF, you can just mention file type, example PDF, right? So here you will see it is mentioning PDF in front of it. So if you just click on it, a PDF file will download, right? So here also PDF, 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 right? So this is the way you can filter out or like optimize your search, right? Now, if you want something like more specific, so just mention in title, for example, let's say antivirus, right? And we will mention site, that is McAfee. Okay, so we are having some problems, and just search for Norton. Okay, so this is not giving anything. Let's first search for Norton. So this is also not working. Okay, no issues. Let's search for Microsoft. right? And we will search for like in title Windows. Okay, and we will remove this site from there. So what this will bring out is the all the like in title, no, we are asking for it that whatever is mentioned in the title of that address should contain this Windows in it, right? So it is giving us download Windows 11, download Windows 10, experience the power of Windows 11 OS, create installation media for this Windows and all that. Okay, so our objective with that is to optimize our search. Okay, so I am not getting too much into this. You will be able to find the list of like Google Docs. Here you will search if you Google Docs list. So here you will be able to find it, right? So here is a GitHub repository. Here you will see is automatic Google scan a better option? Yes, you can do that. Automatic Google Doc. Okay, so from here you can like git install this and you will be able to see all the like docs in it. Okay, I will just provide you the links and I will ask my team to provide it in your group. Okay, now from this, after going into the Google Docs, we will see Google hacking database. Okay, which is hosted by this exploit database. Okay, so here you will see that the docs that you have been using or we have discussed earlier are already having some options we can edit. Okay, so let's see, we will go with the encryption.txt in URL, right? So what this will do, just get back over here in title, right? If you search for it and so for example, let's take this only index of, what you can do is you just copy this from here, go to your browser and just modify it confidential, right? And see what are the results you are getting, right? Numerical index of confidential publications, check consistency, technical documentation, limits.conf in branch, right? So this way you can make use of the docs that are already present in the Google hacking database, right? So either you can go into a Git repository and find out the list of it, or you can just use this Google hacking database as well for the docs. Okay, now coming to the next point or the next resource, I would provide you two things, that is advanced Google search. Okay, so if you click on here, so this page will open over here. So if you need to like do some advanced search on your target, right? For example, let's do EC Council. Okay, this exact word or phrase. For example, let's mention CEH. Any of these words, for example, certified ethical hacker. Okay, none of these word you don't need to give. Okay, and let's just advanced search, right? You can see over here it, and in the very moment they brought us the EC Council's search results, right? So EC Council CEH over here, the CEH cert, EC Council learn ethical hacking courses, right? So from this you should understand that with this you will be able to specify your search more and more. Okay, so do what you take this and you apply it by yourself. Okay, I will just provide you the resources and you have to do some research by yourself. Advanced image search. Okay, this is another resource. You go to advanced image search and here see you will be able to like, so for example, let's do Mr. Robot F Society. Image size you don't need to, medium. Aspect ratio is wide, panoramic, or any aspect ratio. Okay, now let's search for it and see. So got it? So this way, this is the use of advanced image search. Okay, now coming to the next one is reverse image search. Okay, so there you have got tin eyes or other resources. So let's go with tin eye only. So here what you can do, you can upload any image, right? And this will give you information about the image. Like what this will do, this will crawl the entire search engine and try to find things that are related or images that are related to the those particular image that you have uploaded. Okay guys, so one thing I would like to tell you, the all the resources that I am providing you, due to the timing issue, it is not possible to show you every single use case. So what you have to do, you have to do some research and self study. Okay, that is very important. Okay guys, so just do one thing, you keep compiling all of the resources that I am sharing, and you can later on like deep dive into it. Okay, now you, if you go and search for people search engine, so here you will able to like search people. So one of the best example is this spookio.com. Okay, here you can search with the entire name. Let's search for Tim Cook. Okay, so here it will ask for additional information, right? So now if I just go to do this, it will take a lot of time and we will just potentially waste the time of our class. Okay, next resource we are going is the harvester, right? Let's come to the terminal, the harvester. Okay, and do -h. Okay, so as you guys know, coming to the tools and tricks of Kali Linux, the very first thing you should do is either check the help or you check the manual pages, right? So there is no manual entry for harvester, so they have this help page, right? So these are the flags that you can use while using this harvester tool, right? So what we will do, we will do just a basic search. -d is Microsoft, D is our target, -L is 200, -B, for example, let's do Google, or let's do one thing, let's search for LinkedIn, right? Invalid source. Okay, let's go with Baidu only. And you will be see, and let's another one also. So this one is also -h, and see, check for the sources. These are the sources you can use. Okay, so let's see which one you can use. Virus total Yahoo. Let's search with Yahoo. So you have to give it some time to run. Okay, so these are heavy tools and they are use lot of resources. Okay, so see, you can see here this found us some subdomains of Microsoft.com. Okay, while we were searching on this the harvester. Okay, so this one didn't work, Baidu was not working. Okay, no issues, we found some information from the Yahoo search engine, right? So you can see over here, these are the subdomains, host found 16. Okay, so the thing is, you need to do, just go to GitHub and search for the repository of the harvester and see what are the not needed. It takes time, right? Okay, so I am just giving you the resources, right? Now coming to another point that you need to keep in mind. If you search something for competitive intelligence gathering, okay, so what this does is, this with this method we try to find out information about our competitors, Okay, like the competitor companies in our market. So one of the best is LexisNexis. Okay, you can use this website. Okay. Right. So here you will see there are two kind of solutions: risk solutions and legal and professional solutions. Right. So this does what is, this will provide you specific workflow solutions designed specifically for professionals working in legal, risk management, or those kind of things. It maintains an electronic database of information related to legal and public records. Right. So from those legal and public records, you can gather some information about your competitor, right? So if they are facing any kind of legal issues or not, right, or they are facing any kind of like accounting things also, you can see from here. Another site is business wire. Okay, so this is businesswire.com. Yeah, coming to the sublister, guys, subdomain enumeration we will cover tomorrow, okay? Because we don't have much time left for today. So what we will do, I will just give you the basic like web application websites from which you can like do some self study. Tomorrow we will deep dive into the footprinting and recon. Okay, derb also, yes, yes, derb, gobuster, ff, sublister, subfinder, amas, chaos. We have lot of tools. We will cover it tomorrow. Okay, so this is a site, reach your audience, get result. Okay, this is a like focuses on press release distribution and regulatory disclosure. Okay, like whatever disclosures that a company is making, that you will also be able to find over here. So do some self study, do some research by yourself, and you will be able to. Yeah, guys, the time limit is only the issue. Okay, so no worries. So let's keep it this much for today, and tomorrow we will jump into the tools like I have made a list over here. So first we will cover the who is information as well, DNS footprinting, trace route, OSINT framework, and then we will come to the dedicated like web application recon, which you can use for your bug bounty as well. Okay, now we will understand what is a URL, what are the parts of it. So I would suggest I'm showing you this, you do some self study beforehand, and tomorrow we will like have some interaction also. Okay, so here also you will see we will cover all these tools tomorrow. Okay, don't worry. Okay, all right guys, this is it for today. It was great to have you guys here, right? Thank you so much, and make sure you attend tomorrow's class, because tomorrow the entire class will be on practicals. From tomorrow we will do entire thing practical only. Okay, thank you so much guys. Okay, all right. All right, guys. So one of you have asked about the like let's say I have 10,000 subdomains. How I get to know that my subdomains is working and which isn't, right? So tomorrow when we will gather information about the subdomains, we will also cover how to like list out which ones are active and not active. Okay, there are dedicated tools and we will cover all of it. Don't worry about that. Share PDF, sir. I will share the PDF later. Okay. So what I will do after I complete this information gathering part, there are certain things I will add tomorrow, and then I will provide you the PDF of this entire thing. Okay. So the attendance link is provided in the chat section. You guys check it out and fill up the attendance links. Yes, someone has mentioned Pallab, right? HTTPX. So this is one of the great tools you can use for finding the live subdomains. Okay. Yeah, the attendance link is provided. See, hackers for you, that account has tagged the or pinned the attendance, so you will get it. Just keep an eye on it. All right guys, so let me know in the chat section like how did you like the session, how was the session, And are you guys enjoying it or not? Let me know, guys. Yeah, sure. How to manage all the recon assets? Yeah, sure, guys. Don't worry. Be patient, guys. Like, my objective here is to provide you the best resources possible. Okay, so that you can like develop your own methodology for the testing purposes. Okay, so just be patient. We have like 6 more days, right? So we will cover a lot in those 6 days. Okay.